Welcome to NewtoMedia, where we connect you to the best service professionals and help you learn about great experiences all over the world.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Justin Nimmergood. I am the host of the NewtoMedia Podcast. I am so excited for the guest that we have on with us today. It's Mr. Ryan Dorasil. A little bit about Ryan before we get into this fabulous discussion we have planned for you all. He has been married to his wife, Leslie, for about 10 years, and they have a beagle named Finn together. Ryan grew up in the northwest suburb of Chicago, Barrington area. He graduated from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. He was in medical device sales for his first 10 years of his career with bone saws, mostly bone saws and drills, and minimally invasive single-use instruments. Then he spent 5 years at Marcus & Millichap focusing on healthcare and industrial properties throughout the Sun Belt region, where he closed some $200 million plus. For the last 2.5 years, he's been at Keller Williams Commercial. He was brought on to start and run a team focusing on the Kentucky and Southern Indiana region. So far, they've closed 70 million plus to date. It's without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ryan Dorasil to the show. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So I know I just shared a little bit about you, but I guess in Ryan's own words, who is Ryan for our listeners out there?
Yeah. I'm just, I would say, one of three boys. I'm an athlete, grew up as an athlete playing all the different sports. My main, which I think instilled in me my fear of failure really is what drives me. And, that's kind of what enticed me to get into commercial real estate from the medical sales part. One, obviously the money, it's fairly comparable, but two, it was something where I could go out on my own, or, my license would be obviously under a brokerage, but, whether I failed was all on me. It wasn't going to be, hey, my company got bought out, or, we're downsizing here and there, which happens, on seems like a daily basis within medical and pharmaceutical sales. There's always, you're always on the chopping block, and regardless of how much money you've made. And that is really what, really what brought me here. I had the mentality of like, look, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down because it's on me. I didn't put the effort into it, or I did X, Y, and Z wrong. From the jump, I, absolutely loved it. And,
what was it in particular that just really drew you to it? You said from the jump. I mean, there probably was a moment in time maybe when you experienced something and whatever that was, or was it just layers of things that you sort of took on and really enjoyed?
As weird as it sounds, it would probably be the first conversation that I actually got through to an investor and spoke about his portfolio and his properties. So Marcus & Millichap, when I started with them, they focus on investment commercial throughout throughout the country and around the world in some places. So you're calling on people who have portfolios. They want you to make about 250 phone calls a day. So you're just hammering the phones,
Wow.
just getting. Now you could imagine what that's like as being an investor, and you've got, Ryan from Louisville, Kentucky, you're in Tennessee, and he's calling you about your industrial property that you have outside of Nashville. It's just, it's like,
That's it.
and you got, and I remember I called a guy outside of Lexington, Kentucky, and he actually picked up and we had a great conversation. And I was fumbling around because, you're new there, you go through the training. So I knew enough to speak the language, the commercial language, but they didn't know the intricacies yet. But he actually, we were on the phone for about an hour. He had multiple industrial properties throughout the state. Had a great conversation. At the end, he told me, yeah, he's not interested. But right then and there, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's not always going to be the door being shut in your face. You're going to be able to get your foot in the door somewhere. And that kind of was like the light that I was like, well, I guess yeah, I want to do this. I also like that, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. When I was in medical sales, I knew I wanted to get into real estate, whether it be, if initially it was just investing, right?
Right.
And I initially was like, well, I'll buy a couple homes and rent those out and make some money on that. But then when I got to do my own research on it, I was like, why do I want to deal with homes? When I can make X amount more by kind of rolling the dice a little bit more, taking on a little bit more risk, but the reward is bigger. Plus there's
there's fewer players in the space for sure. I mean, in the
sure.
Space.
And I think that, that, and I'm pretty black and white. I think I think my clients, they like that about me. I don't like there's a lot of emotions in residential real estate. Mm-hmm. And in the commercial side, and because I'm mainly working with investors, does it work or does it not? And they appreciate me, speaking my mind and giving them my 2 cents on yes, this is going to work. No, this isn't going to work for your portfolio. Or yes, this is a great investment because of X, Y, and Z. And it's not, you don't have the little things of that you get in residential, where people have lived there for 30 years and they're emotionally tied to it, and it's going to they're going to put you through the ringer on little things and that come up in the inspections and whatnot. Yeah, I mean
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, the commercial space. It's actually funny you were with Marcus and Little Chat. It was actually an internship going way back now, was with Morgan Stanley on the commercial underwriting side of the house. And Marcus was like the number one, partner that we had worked with. And it's interesting. It's either a space that is meant for you or not. And I kind of instantly knew that, yes, I want to be in this space. But what I decided is, no, I do not want to be on the financial analyst side of the house. I want to be in the action, so to speak. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. So did you ever dabble in the residential side, or did you just know from the get-go that you wanted to be on the commercial side?
I just knew from the get-go, but funny thing is just about a couple months ago, I did my first residential deal. And that was only because I had, a client that I've had for the last 6 years, and his grandson and his wife were buying a house and selling their house. And that was an ordeal. So, the paperwork alone, I was like, I was like, well, how do you guys do this on a daily basis? Like, what was funny is, so initially I was like, okay, I'm going to, I've been in real estate,
Yeah, there's no problem.
So, so we find a house that they want. I call up the agent and just to let her know, I was like, hey, within the next 30 minutes, you're going to have an offer.
Nice.
And I basically just put together like a bullet point sheet. It's like, this is what we want. And she's like, oh, she's like, yeah, no, you got to fill out the proper paperwork. What? I was like, this is just an offer, like this is either accept it or no. And then we'll do the paperwork down the line, but just give me yes. And then I quickly was like, okay, well, somebody's going to need to hold my hand on this one, because so a rep in the office that I knew, residential, helped me out, because otherwise I'd have no idea.
That's funny. Yeah, when I was doing the paperwork for my first deal on the residential side is where I mostly focus. I have been, do some commercial deals still, but I can remember same sort of feeling of anxiety as what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, this paperwork is kind of complex, and like I can deal with complexity, but it was just like, oh, this is a lot, and I got to sell them, and I got to do the back end, I got to do the CDA, I got to, right. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. So I can remember like making it my main focus and goal to go find a transaction coordinator. And she's been with me ever since. She's fantastic. So for those of you out there who don't have a TC, let me just tell you, if you want to start to grow and scale your business, it's definitely the way to go, in the long term anyway, maybe not right away as you're building.
Oh, they're worth their weight in gold. I mean, that, and again, I was flying blind there. I thought it was going to be just a quick and dirty deal. Like, okay, yeah, we'll counter at this. Well, yeah, you have to go through and redo all the paperwork and submit that. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
then on the back end, after it's approved, or I'm sorry, accepted, it then it's like all the amendments you have to do.
Oh,
it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. So did you find it more difficult than, I'm assuming yes, than commercial? Or if you can even remember your first commercial deal and all the paperwork, did you find it more difficult than your first deal with commercial?
I wouldn't say difficult. I would say annoying or more cumbersome. I felt like there was way more that went into, buying a $300,000 house than there is buying a $10 million warehouse, right?
Wow.
But that's just, I mean, obviously I'm used to doing, I feel like there's a lot less paperwork, in the process. But then again, it's probably just because that's what I do on a daily basis is the commercial side. So, but to you guys, who do the residential stuff on a day to day, it's probably a breeze to you.
Oh, well, it's like anything. It's like, you got to learn the skill. You got to put in the hours to learn the skill. And then, it ends up becoming like riding a bike, and that muscle memory is there forever, so to speak. But
right.
There's challenges for us too. I'm curious. I noticed in your prep document, you said something to the effect of you enjoy tinkering with things. Can you maybe expound on that?
You mean just like day-to-day stuff?
What kind of things like do you like, messing around with?
Yeah, as a little kid, I always, for instance, like anytime when I was growing up, like remote control cars, like that was like the cool thing and I would always get them, but immediately take them all apart and then try to put them back together, or take them apart and take pieces off of, a car that I had and put it back in. And I don't know, I've always been that way. So like now for instance, like I love doing all the maintenance on our vehicles that we have. I think I in the show prep, I told you this weekend I'm putting in a whole new cooling system in my Jeep.
That's rad. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
I've gotten into watches the last couple of years, but not like flash. To me, it's like anybody can go out and buy like an expensive watch, right? I would rather wear like a vintage, a nicer brand vintage that, I bought that wasn't running, that I got to run and kind of was able to, polish it out or put new crystal in it, put a new, fix the dial, fix the hands, or take parts from other different vintage and kind of make a Frankenstein watch, which is very frowned upon in the watch community that I found out. But I also
think you found your gift though. I mean, that's pretty neat. I've never heard, I hate to say this, but you're the first person I've ever met that, and you don't do it for a living. It's not like you do it for a living. You do it for fun. I've never met anyone that even knows how to begin to tinker with watches like that, right?
Yeah, and I have no idea why, right? Like I think I think it was probably in like COVID when everybody had a lot of time on their hands, and especially in commercial, like deals were extremely slow. And I stumbled upon a YouTube called Wristwatch Revival, and it was just a guy that he would either buy these watches, and it's just like a zoomed in video, and he kind of walked you through the different steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into that. I also I love like grilling and smoking meat and whatnot, but all the older smokers and grills and stuff like that from back in the day, they were all built with much better quality pieces and much better, higher grade materials that hold heat better. So another nerdy thing is I love finding like people who are getting rid of like old Weber grills from like old Weber gas grills or Viking grills or whatnot from, the early 90s and the 80s sometimes. And you could get them really cheap on Facebook Marketplace. People give them up for like
Marketplace. You can get everything. My wife and I love Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. So I'll pick them up and, I'll redo the frames and I'll repaint them with high heat paint or gut the insides. And if it's a gas grill, I'll convert it to all brand new stuff on the insides and kind of make it brand new. I mean, they're built like tanks. So, plus they cook a lot better. So yeah.
Nice. Well, that's definitely an interesting hobby that you have. I mean, what's your favorite watch that you have right now?
Oh gosh, I've got a 1969 Omega Speedmaster that I got on eBay actually. I got on eBay for really cheap because normally if you were to go buy it and it was up and running, you probably could find them for about $5,000. Mm-hmm. I got it again like during COVID, and I won the bid, and I was sure that it was a fake. Because I won the bid. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and it was from California, and I won the bid for like $475. And it had a cracked crystal. It wasn't working. It hadn't been serviced in forever, but sure enough, I got it. When I got it, I took it to a jeweler here in town, or a watch guy here in town, to see if
if it was real or not.
Just praying that I didn't, because I was never going to tell my wife that it was that it was a fake, right? So, but yeah, it actually turned out to be a real watch, and ended up asked that watchmaker what kind of what it needed. I knew obviously cosmetically what it was going to need, but internally kind of what he thought it could need. And surprisingly, on eBay and some other websites, you can buy like all the old vintage. There's like old vintage, never used stock of all these parts that these companies have had. So you can buy, so I bought like all the parts it needed, got it up and running, and that's kind of a watch that I'll wear usually at, if I'm having a big closing, or it's we're going out for something fancy. I don't bring it out much because I don't want to mess it up, but
that's your baby.
On the day-to-day, I just have some knockaround stuff that I've put together, old vintage. There's a brand called Accutron, or Bulivas. I love old Casios because they never, you can do just about anything to them, and they never stop working. So
yeah, that part's amazing about them. That's for sure. So speaking of your wife, I want to pivot for a second.
Sure.
And you've prepared some pictures, or you shared rather some pictures with us in preparation for the show. So I'm going to actually start presenting or sharing my screen.
Sure.
And if you just give me a moment, I'll share it, and then you can would love to just hear the story or thoughts behind some of the pictures here.
Sure. Yeah, that's us. That was last April, actually. So that is at Keeneland Racetrack, which is a historic racetrack in Lexington, Kentucky, about an hour away from us here in Louisville. Keeneland's like it's like God's country. If you're into horse racing or you're in the area, it's only open in October and in April.
2 months out of the year.
Yeah. And it's like they took an old, it's beautiful. It's all limestone, everything. And it's just dropped in the middle of thoroughbred farms. So it's just surrounded, like all the Derby winners and stuff. All those horses are bred, and once they win, a lot of times they're stabled around this. So it's just nothing but open horse fields, just beautiful country. That was actually one of our friends. He's a part owner in a horse, so he gets owner's passes. So that's actually in what they call the paddock area. So right before the horses are going to walk out onto the track, there's kind of a walled off area where only owners are allowed to go in, and they're there while their jockeys are saddling up their horses and getting them it's like the last step before they walk out in front of the crowd under the grandstands and stuff. So that's neat. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever been, but I have, but to a like a professional golf tournament. They kind of have things roped off and whatnot like that with the pros. So it's like, these are your professional golfers. They're horses, but they're you know what I mean? It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. That's awesome. What an awesome experience there. And then what about this one here? Yeah, that was last 4th of July weekend. So Louisville is on the Ohio River, and right over, you could throw a baseball across the river and you're in southern Indiana, and there's a small town in southern Indiana that's on the river called Madison, and they always have like a 4th of July fest there, where they'll have a couple days of just great bands that come out. And that actually was, we went to go see a guy named Wyatt Flores play and a band called Silverado. And this right here is, we had never seen them live before, but this was a band called 49 Winchester, who, as soon as we saw them, I was just like, oh my God, these guys are unbelievable. So just a good time. And that's kind of what, me and my wife, we love to go see live music, as much as possible. We're actually going at the, was it the 29th? We got tickets. There's a small theater here in town that probably holds, I want to say maybe a couple thousand, just a small intimate place that we're going to go see Vince Gill play.
Nice.
So
that's exciting. And
then we're looking forward to it.
Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah, that's me and Finn. That's our our beagle Finn. We rescued him. We had he was in central Illinois. They caught him running in the fields.
Oh, no.
Yeah, in this town, it was called Marshall, Illinois, and it was, there was like nothing there. It was, I want to say the town had like less than 5,000 people in it. But yeah, I found him online, and he's actually with me right now. I bring him to work all the time.
Oh,
he's just super chilled out. I almost lost him the first month that we had him, which was my bad. But but yeah, no, he's great. This is at up in Michigan, place called Gull Lake, which is right outside of Kalamazoo, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, no way. We didn't even, I didn't know that about you, but yeah, I actually was born in Michigan. We used to vacation up in like Sutton's Bay area, Traverse City, Sutton's Bay, and kind of spent some time in the UP as well. It is beautiful up there in the summer. Anyway, it's a little chilly in the winter.
Yeah, my father-in-law, his family, he grew up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And then my best friend from high school works for Stryker, which is a medical sales company, and they're based out of Kalamazoo. So we visit them every year and rent a house there on Gull Lake. So
nice. What about, here we go, beach action?
Yeah, that's my wife Leslie, and that's our old dog Crew. That's the first dog that we got together, and this is on the beach in Watercolor, Florida. So we used to go down to Watercolor Seaside area every October. We used to go down there. And if you've never been down to that 30A area, it's beautiful. And in October, back in the day, and I say back in the day, this is probably, 8 years ago. It was prior to COVID, because during COVID, suddenly 30A blew up on Instagram. So everybody was there. You used to be able to go down there, rent a house, and nobody was there. So you'd have, nobody on the beach. You'd have all the pools to yourself. Everybody just drives golf carts around. And
yeah, I love those communities that just drive golf, and they soup them up too. They put rims on them. Yeah, that's fun. How fun. And then how about this guy right here? Let me see if I can. That's a little bit.
Yeah. That's old Louisville. That's the area that we live in. My wife, she has her own interior design firm, and we always rented in old Louisville before we bought. We fell in love with the architecture, and randomly when I graduated from college, I moved back to Chicago, and then I was with Stryker, and then I got a job offer from Stryker saying, hey, there's a territory in Louisville, Kentucky. It's yours if you want it, but you've got you've got roughly 48 hours. You've got to get down there and you got to find a place to live. Oh, and it's got to be close. It's got to be close. It's got to be close to the hospitals too. And I was like,
okay.
yeah, I was like, oh, all right. Never been there. So I had no idea, no idea what I was doing. And I randomly found an apartment because a lot of these old Victorians, people, scattered throughout the neighborhood, people have over the years chopped them up into apartments. And it reminded me of Lincoln Park, Chicago.
Oh yeah, I love Lincoln Park.
Yeah, so I was like, I randomly rented an apartment there and loved it. A lot of walking courts there. I believe Louisville has it's like the largest amount of old Victorian architecture in America.
I believe it. I'd say they're in probably maybe Charleston, South Carolina or something like that.
It's got to be something like that. Like our house was built in 1901. It was originally a boarding house and then was a downstairs doctor's office, upstairs boarding house. So yeah, it's a great area. It's a great place to live in, but we found out recently, though, I should say within the last year, that it's not fun to live in historic districts when you want to do any kind of renovations and stuff.
Yeah, not at all. That's not fun at all. And then looks like you got a couple stadium photos and maybe a restaurant photo left.
Yeah, this is Louisville Slugger Field. Obviously, Louisville Slugger bats, they're made here in town, but we've got a AAA baseball team for the Cincinnati Reds called the Bats, and the stadium itself has always been rated as one of the top, if not the top, minor league baseball stadium in America. It's a great place to go out on catch an evening game and cheap tickets. Everything's walkable down there. It's got great food. A lot of the I would say mom and pop restaurants and stuff also do have little concession areas too. So you're not walking in and getting, your run of the mill concessions. It's actually like legit food, at a good price. And I love watching sports, so you can't beat it. It's right on the river.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. And then you got another one that's kind of near the water too, huh?
Yep. This is new within the last 5 years. Louisville brought in I guess it would be considered the AAA of Major League Soccer. So they built this soccer stadium. They use it for the men's AAA soccer team and the women's, as well as they have concerts and stuff there. And it kind of kicked off this area that's called Butchertown. It's kind of kicked off the revitalization of this downtown area, which is really cool.
Nice. And then last but not least, I definitely need to blow this guy up. There we go.
Yeah, it's my favorite restaurant. It's called Hammerheads. It's this little hole in the wall because the only there's no signage. It just has that big hammerhead shark on it. It's in the middle of a neighborhood, in a neighborhood called the Highlands.
Okay.
But it's also on it's like on a side street too. So you would never, it's not like it gets a ton of foot traffic, but it's always slammed. And these guys do, they do a lot of, they smoke a lot of meats, but it's also, they've got a great chef that does like farm to table stuff. And one of the things that you got to get if you ever go there is they have duck fat fries.
I love duck fat fries.
Yeah, so and you can choose like let's say that you're getting fried chicken. Like if there you can choose duck fat fryer as opposed. So it's I don't know. No frills, just you walk in, it kind of looks like a dive bar on the inside, but just absolutely dynamite food.
That's so cool. Now, we're going to pivot to kind of our final question, if you will, and then wrap the show. So, put simply, as the host of my own podcast called The Real Estate Rock Stars, one thing I like to ask guests on our New to Media channel is, what is your definition of a real estate rock star?
I would say a real estate rock star is somebody who puts their clients' best interests in front of their own, right? You're always striving to do the best for your client. You're always striving to get the best deal, but also you want to do that. You want to get the best. You want to get the best deal, but you don't want to shake down the other person.
Right.
You want to, in my mind, a rock star always, their deals are always win-win on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody also who, their name is always top of mind when somebody else needs something. So for instance, okay, well, I've got a client who's looking for this type of property. Oh, it's Ryan, or
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's Justin. Like those are the rock stars, the ones that everybody knows that if you're dealing with them, you're going to get great service. They know their properties in and out, and they know who and how to get things done. Louisville, especially here in Louisville, which I found out when I moved here, is like we're a city, but everybody knows everybody, and it's still somewhat of a good old boys club, right?
Yeah.
So if you need to get things done, you kind of need to know who to go to get these things done. And I would say the rock stars or the people, the agents that excel, they're the ones who, good and bad, they're going to be able to get your deal over the line. They're going to be able to, to prove their worth and prove why they're getting paid what they get paid.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And it is all about putting someone else's, your clients, or maybe it's even a strategic partner that you have, their needs above and beyond your own. So appreciate you sharing that nugget with our listeners out there. Ryan, I had a great time today. Thank you so much for hopping on and spending a couple minutes with us, sharing about yourself and more importantly, the community that you're a part of there in Louisville. Where can people find and connect with you?
Yeah, as I was saying earlier when we got on, I'm not the most technical guy. I mean, you can find me, email me at rdorasil@kw.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm currently have a website that's in the process of being built.
That's exciting.
I probably should have done, a while ago, but you know what? It's getting done. It'll get done. Feel free to give me a call at any time. Is it all right if I give my phone number out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If, any kind of, questions, or if you're looking for a commercial property in the Sun Belt region, call me at 502-381-1059. If I don't know, if I don't have the answer to your questions or what you need, I'm sure that I can point you in the right direction to somebody who does. No, and I had a great time as well. I love to come on anytime, and I'd love to tell people more about Louisville, Kentucky, and the surrounding regions and how awesome it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we can't thank you enough for coming on today. Folks, there's another wonderful episode of the NewtoMedia Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Nimmergood, and we're signing off. See you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.